This is Shlomo Swidler, CEO of Orchestratus, on Wednesday, September 11th, 2013. On this program, I'll speak with Maish Saidel-Keesing of Cisco about his work with OpenStack. Welcome, Maish, as our guest on today's podcast. This is first in a series of podcasts that's going to talk with people who are working with OpenStack in Israel. And make sure that if this interests you, you check out the upcoming OpenStack Israel event on December 9th, and we'll give you more details later about how to find that more information. In the meantime, Maish Saidel-Keesing is here with us. Maish works for Cisco. Maish, would you tell us a little bit about what your role is in Cisco and how it relates to OpenStack? Hi.
Hi, Shlomo. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
So I work as a platform architect, which is a nice title, but in essence what I do is I try to build architectures for projects which we deliver to customers. By architectures, I mean the whole stack from application all the way down to the underlying infrastructure of bare metal switches and networks underneath. Up until now, we've been doing some deployments which have been mostly physical hardware based, but we're now moving further into the virtual realm and also starting to look at OpenStack as a possibility to deploy solutions for customers as well, because that is something which we are seeing more of the market looking to get solutions or solutions to solve these kind of problems.
So you started looking at OpenStack because you hear customer demand for it?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So what would you have done before? What were you doing before OpenStack?
We were deploying, as I said, up until now, until a while ago, we were deploying on bare metal, but mostly from the past year or two, we've been going with a VMware-based solution as the underlying infrastructure for our deployments for customers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when did you start looking at OpenStack as an alternative?
I would think approximately 6 to 8 months ago, we started hearing more and more feedback about people looking to deploy things in OpenStack. But at the moment, we're getting more and more people, more and more traction and more interest in producing some kind of a solution which will be possible for customers to deploy the products which we have on their own OpenStack infrastructure or on a public cloud infrastructure as well.
Interesting. So you're trying to produce something that will be usable in a very standard way on any OpenStack environment.
Correct. Be it public or private cloud.
Mm-hmm. And how is that going?
It's a work in progress, a moving target, because there are a number of challenges as in compared to what we're used to working with a VMware infrastructure, namely a lot of different terminology which we have to get used to compared to what we actually are accustomed to with VMware. A lot of things which are different in OpenStack. There's certain limitations and requirements that we need to adhere to when going with OpenStack, if it will be shared storage or lack of shared storage in certain things. But it's a work in progress. I do think we'll be able to provide a solution which will be viable in the not too far future. We can't exactly say when, but it is, as I said, a work in progress, and it's going pretty well. We find that the API documentation is more or less, actually the documentation itself is very, very open and very, very clear, which makes things very, very easy to use. The things of, there was actually not so long ago the whole discussion about which APIs should be used for future deployment of OpenStack on the future versions. Should it be the AWS API, or should it be a Rackspace API, or OpenStack API, or things which we are not personally involved in, but things which we have to look out for, because these things which will change the way we deliver the products as well.
Do you have an opinion on the matter?
If you were to ask, I haven't really come to an opinion, but if off the cuff, I would say it would not be a good idea to go only on one API, which would be AWS, for the very simple reason of the fact of having lock into one vendor and the way one vendor does it is not a good thing. That's why the whole thing OpenStack started in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me.
Okay. Okay. And so in the meantime, you're using the native OpenStack APIs and gaining experience with those.
Correct. But as we are seeing as well, that the native OpenStack APIs are not necessarily the same ones as the Rackspace APIs.
Right. So let's continue. What surprised you most when you started looking at OpenStack and since?
Coming from the VMware world, the thing which most surprised me, which in a way I think has certain benefits and certain drawbacks, that everything is software. Storage is presented by software, network is presented by software, images are presented by software. The whole thing is software-based, which has certain benefits, but also there are certain limitations because using a software-based solution, you don't really necessarily take full use of potential of the underlying capabilities of the hardware underneath.
Can you give me an example of something that you wanted to do that you found difficult?
For example, storage offloading. I wanted to offload certain copy operations to the storage array. That's not possible, that as far as I know at the moment on OpenStack. Cloning virtual machines, I would like to clone or deploy new images or instances. There are certain storage arrays which know how to offload those operations to the storage array instead of having to do it through the network, through software. In OpenStack, as far as I know, that's not possible.
I see. How have you been proceeding on those issues in the meantime?
In the meantime, we have to work with the limitations that there are in the platform and working around and hopefully see that sometime down the road in the future these things will be addressed to come to par with like, for example, solutions which are provided with other hypervisors. But we only work around at the moment. There's nothing we really can do. So you have to see how to address that and take care of it.
Mm-hmm. You're planning on attending the upcoming Israel OpenStack event in December?
Yes, I am.
What are you looking to get out of that event?
I think the most important thing in such an event is firstly networking with peers, to get to meet the people that are actually active in the community, to speak to them, create new social contacts and new social connections between the people, because the way I find it is people is the best resource you can ever have. And by creating these connections, you will have the possibility of firstly spreading your own knowledge, and secondly getting more knowledge from other people as well. Things in the virtualization community, from the VMware community, and I think that is one thing I would like to also start seeing from the OpenStack community in general, and specifically in the one in Israel specifically.
Great. I hope we can satisfy you. Is there any specific area that you're interested in learning more about?
I would think some things which I need to get more information are the fact of distributed storage solutions for OpenStack and how people are addressing that element of their deployments, for example, on Ceph or on other platforms. And secondly, the fact of automation of building infrastructures itself. In other words, how to set up OpenStack as quick as possible as an environment, that you can bring up an environment, show customer something that you would like, and if you need to tear it down and build it up again within the next day, which is something I would like to see as well.
Automation. What
Correct.
Are you doing now for automation and environment build out?
It's a mixture of open source tools like Puppet, or in some cases Chef, or some homegrown scripts which we're doing at the moment, or some Cisco products as well, which we have, which will allow certain leeway and easier automation for some of these things. But it's a mixture of all sorts of tools. As I said, open source, custom, and home built.
Well, I don't know if you were at the last Israel OpenStack event in, I believe it was May or June. Kobe from LivePerson spoke about his Puppet-based automation solution for deploying OpenStack. Have you guys, how much interaction is there among the various OpenStack practitioners in Israel?
It could be that I'm not really that involved with the community like I am with the VMware community, but on my part, there's not that very much. I have certain interactions with the people from Gigaspaces, if it would be Uri Cohen or Nati Shalom, and with you sometimes, but not very much more.
So have you looked into any of the things that that LivePerson has done with their Puppet support?
Yes, we have, and I think we have used some of it as well in the way we also deploy, or at least part of it, or the ideas of how to get there to deploy the solutions or the way we're going to be doing OpenStack deployment as well. So yes, it is very beneficial. That's the whole thing of sharing and reusing community resources, which I think is the best thing.
So where do you go today when you have questions or want to do some more learning about OpenStack?
I would think that firstly is blogs, which is a good thing. There is a very active, what they call Planet V12 and Planet Virtualization thread RSS feed, which has a number of blogs which do virtualization. As of late, I found something also which I find very, very useful called Planet OpenStack, which has a aggregator of a number of RSS feeds, which is updated at least daily with a number of articles from a lot of people. So RSS is one of the mediums that I use. Twitter, I have a column with an OpenStack hashtag open up the whole time to see information. Mostly blogs, internet, social networking. That's where I would go for the information that I need at the moment.
And do you plan on asking specific technical questions at the upcoming OpenStack Israel event?
If I have the option of doing so, yes, very much so.
And do you plan on proposing or talking at the event?
I actually have put in a paper a proposal for a talk to do with actually one of the solutions we have called the Cisco OpenStack installer, which not something that I wrote, but something which we use, and I would like to think would be a good idea to demo or at least give an overview of how the thing works. That was one of the sessions which I put in, yes.
Oh, sounds interesting. Why should I come to see that?
Because, as I said, one of the things we're looking to solve is how to bring up an OpenStack environment, and with this tool that we have, it will allow you with minimal interaction and minimal work within an hour and a half to have a full OpenStack cluster up and running on bare metal, virtual machines, whatever you would like.
Okay.
So that might be something which would be interesting to see.
All right. That sounds interesting. So what suggestions do you have for someone who is considering opening up OpenStack and starting to use it today?
I would think one of the things I would suggest is, number one, firstly, do your reading. In other words, understand what OpenStack is there for, what it comes to solve. OpenStack is not the solution to everything or all your problems that you have. There are certain, I think, use cases which can be used. There are certain use cases where OpenStack will not be able to solve the problem you're trying to get and come to a solution with. That's number one. Number two is don't be afraid to ask for help from people. If it will be on the internet or in the forums or in the IRC channels, I'm sure people usually are very, very helpful, very, very willing to assist. So that would be the second thing. And number three would be it is very, very, very easy to try it out. I think all you need is a number of virtual machines running on your laptop or on your server, whatever else you would like. It's very, very easy to get it up and running. So give it a try. If you don't succeed the first time, carry on trying, get it up and running, and so you can see exactly how the product works, try and understand the components, and get your knowledge further along the way to understand exactly what you're doing.
How long would you say it takes to get up to speed until you feel comfortable knowing what you're doing with OpenStack?
From which perspective are you looking at that? Coming from what background?
Well, let's start with yours.
From mine, it will take a certain amount of time because I'm used to a certain way of thinking, certain terminology, certain infrastructure and deployment models.
VMware
with VMware, exactly. So there's a number of things which you have to understand which are completely different in the way OpenStack works, so that it will take a little bit more time. If somebody's coming in without any previous knowledge of any hypervisor or any solution underneath, I think it will be quicker. How long exactly it will take, it depends on the person and how technical and how willing and deep they're interested in going. It's not something you can learn in a day. It's not something I think you can learn in a week. It takes time. You have to understand how everything works, how everything is connected. It takes time.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you are listening to this podcast and you are interested in shortening that time that it takes to get familiar with OpenStack and understand more about it and its terminology, then I encourage you to meet Maish and myself at the upcoming OpenStack Israel Day on December 9th. More information is available at the OpenStack Israel website, which is openstack-israel.org. Feel free to submit a talk or to just come by and listen and learn from everybody and contribute. Maish, I want to thank you again for your time and for sharing with us your experiences, and I look forward to seeing you at the event.
Thank you very much, Shlomo, for the opportunity.